So, made me feel right at home. Thank you all. All right. Sometimes I write letters to the dead. Now, sometimes I do this professionally in a way, trying to understand folks I might be eulogizing, connecting with them so I can send their messages to their beloved still here. And sometimes I do this for myself. The other month, I was in Maryland at this craft co-op gallery where different artisans were selling their work, and I saw this card of sailboats, beautifully docked at bay, bright blue painted undersides. Now, it struck me because my grandfather had been on my mind lately, and my grandfather loved to sail. He's been gone for a while now, and he and I were very close. A kind, smart, organized man, he was gentle and funny and a troublemaker, an electrician and a union organizer, so kind and gentle, and also clear in his values. And if you were rude to him or his people, a quick and firm line would be drawn so that you would know your misstep. He was a wonderful person, and I was really missing him. So when I saw this card, I of course bought it to write him a letter, and then I of course promptly forgot about it for a couple months, because aren't we so human? Now I refound it several weeks ago and finally wrote that letter to my grandfather. It was a beautiful moment of connection and catharsis. Now, in other times in my life, I would write letters to exes saying all those things I wish I could have said, but could no longer. Some friends and I would even have a little connection, like a truce or whatever. We could mail those letters to each other and just save them in a box somewhere. Don't open them, maybe we'll burn them together or shred them together, something like that. Writing letters to people we will never send them to can be a spiritual practice. And now I'm thinking I need to start writing some love notes to the future. The future I hope for, what I hope I can say to people 7 generations away perhaps, to give me hope and keep me working and moving towards something so that even when there is so much mess in the world, I can see that future I will never see. Now, maybe you do or do not like to write, or writing letters to dead people or the unborn feels a little too woo-woo-y for you. That is fine. I totally get it. And I invite you to think about the rituals in your own life that can create space and time for that which lives in us, in our past, our future, and our present, but perhaps does not occupy a particular space in our physical and temporal lives. The power of ritual is to bring these important connections we have more deeply integrated into our world. Now, there's one I'll propose for us to use as a community now that more in-person gatherings are happening. And it's one I hear from Medina that you as a community have used before in some groups. Give me 1 second. The empty chair. It's a little low for folks online, but you can see most of it. Now, who is sitting on it? On this chair sits those who have been a part of us, those who have been in some way a part of this community. And on this chair also sits those who one day might be a part of this community, but are not here yet, perhaps not even born yet, perhaps 7 generations into the future. Now, the chair might also be a space for a playmat for a baby, or a little itty bitty chair that's so cute, or a more comfortable chair for the bony, or a chair that's more easy to get out of for the older or those with back issues, perhaps a wheelchair or an exercise ball or a space to stand. You get the idea. The chair, my friends, is a metaphor. The empty chair is a space of possibility, of future, and of past. It is a chair a lot can sit upon. Now, as we think of those no longer in this community, it might make us feel more rooted, strong. It might bring us joy and grief and honor too. As we think of those we hope will be here, we might have anxieties and fears like, oh, I hope we don't mess up welcoming them, and also hope and excitement. It might not look like it, but this little chair can hold a whole lot. It can hold a lot because it can hold a continuum of time and space, the strength and wisdom of the past, the groundedness of now, and the expanse of the future. On this chair sits commitment, spirit, soul, and skepticism too. All can fit, have no fear. Now, I want to talk just very briefly about honoring the past a bit more fully. The past of this church is 30 years ago, but it is also before that. It is also at First Unitarian. It is also at the beginnings of Unitarian Universalism in Richmond and Virginia, and just generally. Those are a whole bunch of sermons for another day. But it is also a past you all hold, right? It is the beloved departed who were members of this church, whether they passed or had to leave for their own reasons. And it is the beloved departed in each of our lives, the ancestors who support us with their strength, wisdom, flaws, and humanness. So let us take a moment now to bring all of these ancestors into this space. Put them here on the chair. Folks online, I invite you to just type these names into the chat box, and folks in the sanctuary, just speak these names into our space. Alfred Krauss. All of these beloved and more here in the chair. Let us hold them, feel some rootedness and groundedness with them, even if it is also mixed with some grief, as we move into the future while still holding the past, knowing that this empty chair can hold a lot. And when we are talking about the future, I think you all are already pretty good at thinking about the next generation, the kids and the people who you hope will lead this church. And today, I'll encourage us to think 7 whole generations into the future. Now, 7-generation thinking comes from the Haudenosaunee Nation, known perhaps more to us as the Iroquois. Here's Rick Hill Sr. of the Tuscarora tribe of the Haudenosaunee Nation on the concept. He says, if you ask me what is the most important thing that I have learned about being a Haudenosaunee, it's the idea that we are connected to a community, but a community that transcends time. You take the inheritance from the past, you add to it your ideas and your thinking, and you bundle it up and shoot it to the future. And there is a different kind of responsibility that is not just about me, my pride, and my ego. It's about all that other stuff. We inherit a duty, we inherit a responsibility. A community that transcends time. And so it is in most churches, right? We sometimes joke about church time, which means things happen a little slow here sometimes. But it's also that the work we are doing here, the work of building relationships of depth and breadth, taking the time to say, I was wrong, I messed up, to hear it, taking the time to truly get to know someone, to truly listen, to dream together and act together, this all takes time and trust. Transformation, church life, happens on its own timeline. And it happens from our connections to our past and our future, rooted here, now, in the present. Now, this is a bit beyond our normal visioning of what we might hope for our grandchildren or great-grandchildren. It is this remembering of the future we cannot know, this remembering it as if it is a part of us we will not fully know. It is holding the future loosely, not quite vision, a bit more like trust. Trust that what you value will live on, taking new forms in new places and spaces and people. For the church, it is the trust that the mission and values will be embodied fully in the world, that love, wonder, and connection will transform not just the individuals in it and the world around it, but the community itself. For a quick image of that, I turn to Berea College in Berea, Kentucky. It's a college that began to be the first integrated higher education institution for both Black and white students in the South. They are now the only one of America's top colleges where no student pays for tuition. Now, when they began their mission, it was to provide quality education opportunities to students who could not access it. At the time they were founded, this was because of race. And now it is because of cost for those of many races and ethnicities. So now they offer a free tuition for anyone who will go. Their practices, their procedures, their goals changed so that they could continue living out that mission of providing quality higher education to those who could not access it. And for it to stay as their center, they had to change how they started operating. And so, may the mission, may the values always be the center of our institutions, of this institution, helping them to live their purpose for many generations into the future. May your visions of the future of 7 generations be sometimes clear and sometimes hazy, and then differently clear when we learn and shift excitedly scattered beautiful images, making perhaps a stained glass or a collage, a beautiful array of options. Back to Reverend Teresa. Can we develop the skill of remembering the future? Can we commit to build the community that will extend into a time that we only know by memory because it will outlast us? Memorize the compass points of the day yet to come. The truth, the love, the fire, the endless yes of the horizon. Shake the scales of your imagination, reach, stretch, rise. So, may we remember the future, for it too is our day today. The past and the present and the now, all sitting here on the empty chair. So, for all these ancestors and great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, leave out an empty chair. Amen. May it be so, and may we make it so.